Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to respond to a question from my Sound of Love 2 video where, when I was channeling, the guides invited people to ask any questions that they wanted to clarify what was coming through in the channeling. And one person asked this question that I thought I would answer in a separate video because I feel like a lot of people may be curious about the same thing and wanting to know the same thing. And instead of just a short answer below my other video, which I will link here above or below, I decided to create this separate video to answer the question. So the question came from, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and thank you so much for asking, Mave. And the question is, can you tell me how to stay in pure awareness, not getting attached in daily life, not getting affected by emotions and thoughts? So I have given that some thought, and the first thing I would say, I've made notes here so that I don't skip any important points that I want to bring up. So the first thing I would say is to not being attached to daily life is to realize that life is always showing us something about ourselves. I have a separate video that I'll also link called The Mirror Effect. And this truly is that everything that happens on the outside is reflecting something for us on the inside. And so the more we pay attention to what life is showing us and how we react to that, the more that we get to release and clear and then find ourselves in this place where we're not responding emotionally or being attached to what happens to us in our lives. So whenever there's an attachment, it's triggering something within us, some belief or some pattern that we're holding. So what we believe on the inside, we create on the outside. So I'll say that again because in my experience and what I've been through, and I've even developed a clearing technique based on this understanding after doing a lot of my own clearing, the freedom release technique, which you can find on my website. What we believe on the inside, we create on the outside. So life really is a perfect mirror for us. And not to say that, everything in our daily experience is only of our own creation, because we're also connected to the mass consciousness, and as the mass of humanity coming together here on this earth, we also create things together. But in our sort of daily life experience, most of what we're creating is solely for us and for us to see. So I'll give you an example of how this can look. I, for all of my life, felt like the black sheep in my family. So mostly there was my mom and my sister and myself. And for much of that, I had 3 different fathers in my life. So my mom was the constant. And I always felt like I didn't fit in. I always felt like the black sheep. I always felt like I was different. And I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, I realized, if I feel like I'm different, actually this was probably more like 7 years ago, around 2012, when I was starting my whole healing process. I realized if I feel like I'm different, they're going to have to show me I'm different, because this is how it works. What I believe on the inside, life has to show me on the outside, because I create according to my beliefs. This is why we can learn so much about what we see in our experience. It's showing us what we believe. So finally, I just got that if I believe that I'm so different from my family, that I don't fit in, then my family has to show me not fitting in. I felt like I wasn't completely accepted because I was the misfit. And so they had to show me not being completely accepted. So when I finally realized this, I did a clearing for myself about not fitting in and not being accepted. I cleared that. And the next time I had a visit with my mom, I felt like she truly loved me for the first time in my life. It was quite profound. And this is an example of how impactful our beliefs are, and changing our beliefs from the inside. I didn't change my mother. My mother was the same person she always was. I changed what I believe on the inside, and therefore she had to show up in my world differently. Another example of this, I was living with a person at one point after my marriage had ended, and we were blending two families, and his first partner had left him for someone else. And after a while of with us living together, I suddenly had this feeling that I was going to cheat on him. I've used this example before because it was such a deep realization for me, because I am not someone who holds those values. I would not cheat on someone I was in relationship with. I would end the relationship if that was the case. And I felt like I was going to cheat on him. And then I realized, because his first partner left him, he believes that I will leave him as well. And that belief is so strong within him that it's actually creating within me that feeling that I'm going to do the same thing. It wasn't even my thought. It was me having to show up in his experience almost to show that for him because he believed it so strongly. So, if it's an attachment to a person, home, or job, so she talked, about being attached to things in our life. So if it's an attachment to something, it's because we have fear of loss if we let that go or if that disappears. So it's like not realizing that life wants to deliver something better. So it's about knowing that life is always showing us what's within us. And then if there's any kind of fear of loss of anything, for example, you're in a relationship, it's really not the best relationship for you, or that you're not truly in love anymore, but you hold on to it because you're afraid of being alone, or you don't believe that someone better would come along. Or you feel like you couldn't make it financially without living with this person. All of those are fear-based beliefs, and we're often inclined not to believe and see that life is actually wanting to bring us something better. So for example, if this relationship is wanting to end, it's because there's something better out there for us. Life is always pushing us towards our greatest growth, our greatest potential, towards something better. But we don't always see it that way, and we often don't trust the flow of life. So we're getting these nudges from our soul that something's not right, but we resist because we believe that we're losing something instead of believing that life wants to deliver something more for us. So whenever there's any kind of attachment, it's coming from this. And we are always affected by our emotions and our thoughts. So it's kind of the same as an attachment. If we react to something, it's something that needs to be cleared in our lives. So for example, we go back to the relationship piece. If we're worried about being lonely without being in this relationship, then there's something within us that needs to be healed. There's somewhere within us where we are not fulfilled within ourselves, and we're looking to someone else to fill us up. That's always a recipe for failure, because no one else can fill us up. No one else can be the perfect relationship that they need to be in order for us to feel fulfilled. Often when we're falling in love, we feel like that's happening, and then the relationship starts to fall apart because the person's no longer reflecting what you need them to be, and we blame it on the other person instead of realizing that they're just showing us something within ourselves, somewhere where we're not liking ourselves, somewhere where we're not fulfilled within ourselves. And so our emotions and our thoughts are always showing us what we really believe on the inside. So if it's feeling lonely, then it's a matter of looking in, finding out where that loneliness stems from, and doing some clearing work. This is a process of doing a lot of clearing of those beliefs, just like I did without feeling like I belonged in my family. And then I cleared that and suddenly felt like I was truly loved by my mother. And that love was actually feeling accepted by her, because I no longer believed that even though I can be different from my family and also be accepted by my family. That was it. Like, I still know I'm different from my mom and my sister, but I believe that I'm accepted in that difference, so therefore I can feel loved by them. So that's how it works. Once we realize this, we go in and make the shift within ourselves, then the way people show up in our world will change. Sometimes what's coming up can be a past life. So, for example, I had a client who had 3 children, and she didn't feel the same about her middle child as she did with the other 2. It just wasn't the same connection with her middle child, and she felt bad about that, and she wanted to work through it. And she had booked a 10-session package with me because she was really ready to break through. And she brought this up in the very first session. And so when I looked in, I found a past life that the 2 of them had, and there was some challenge in that past life. And so we cleared that past life. And when she came back for her next session, she told me that it had worked, that she felt better about her relationship with this middle child, that whatever was the resistance to them feeling truly connected was gone, and she felt the same love for this child as she did for others. And then when she came back for her 3rd session, she told me that that new open, loving feeling to that child was still there, and she actually expected that it might go back to the way it used to be, but it didn't. It was still there. So clearing this past life allowed the belief that she holds within about her relationship with this child to shift. So this is how profound it can be when we can really dig in and find the source of what this is. So there are a lot of different techniques out there to clear. Some of them you have to kind of know what it is yourself. With the freedom release technique that I created, I can help you find the source. But all of this to say that by finding some clearing techniques that really work very powerfully, you can help yourself move through these. And so because this client shifted on the inside, then the way she interacted with this child was different on the outside. So this is the mirror effect. Everything on the inside is reflected on the outside. Another thing that I think often keeps us afraid of making change in our life is persecution from a past life. So, for example, you may know that you have some skills that you could bring into the world, that you're not living in the fullness of your life expression, but there's some fear that holds you back. And for most of us who are intuitive in this world, we've been persecuted in past lives for that intuition. And I've cleared a few past lives for myself, where I was burned at the stake or hung, whatever it was, cleared it with many of my clients. It's one that was a big part of society at one point, so there may be some persecution there that keep you from bringing your gifts and abilities into the world. So that's something that's quite common that you can look into. So whenever you have a reaction in the world, whether it's a fear about moving forward or a fear about something ending, or someone says something to you and you have a reaction, ask, what is this reaction showing me about my beliefs? So if you are clear on the inside, then there's not going to be any reaction. So let's say someone says something to you, they get a little bit upset with you about something. Perhaps you stepped in front of them in line because they thought that you were just coming into line, but you had been there before and asked the person in front of you to hold your space, and they just thought you were stepping in, and they said something to you. if you're clear, you would just say, oh, I was already here and this person ahead of me agreed to hold this space for me. And you would just simply say that and it would just wash off your back. But if it triggered something in you and you felt like this person was inappropriate, they shouldn't get angry with you, whatever it was that it triggered within you, ask, why did this experience happen to me? Why is this triggering something within me? Know that if there's a trigger, it's something within you. And life is always showing us these things so that we can move through them. So then it's a chance for you to explore, okay, why was I triggered by this? How am I really feeling about this? Am I feeling angry with that person? Perhaps somewhere you're angry within yourself. Perhaps somewhere you don't respect others and this person felt disrespected and so they're just showing you that. There's something in there for you to look at. So another example, if you invite a friend for dinner and you're really looking forward to just spending this time together and you've gone out and done some shopping to prepare something that will be what you feel to be a really nice meal, and you've spent your day preparing, and it's very last minute, an hour before your friend is due to arrive, they call you and say they can't come. And they don't have what you feel is a really good reason for not coming. How do you feel about this? Do you get upset? Do you get ticked off because you've invested so much? Or do you just get disappointed because now you're going to be spending the evening alone and you were really looking forward to having your friend with you for the evening? If there's any kind of response there, just look at what it is. Is it feeling sad about being alone? Is it feeling respected? Is it feeling rejected because at the last minute they're not coming? Look and see what it is and then go in and say, okay, where have I been rejected before in my life? Where do I believe that I'm rejected? Where do I believe that I'm not lovable and therefore I get rejected? And just go in and explore that. The way of being clear, the way of being in awareness and being clear of emotional response is, okay, wow, I guess I'm going to be enjoying this beautiful meal by myself tonight. I'll invite my higher self to come in and enjoy this meal with me. There's no emotional response. You're just present with the now and fully accepting the now moment and whatever it's delivering. And that's what's on the other side of all this clearing of emotions and belief systems, is that you're fully able to be present with the now moment without an emotional response or reaction. Even when the now moment looks like what may be suffering, it comes to the point when you've cleared a lot of your hidden beliefs and emotions that even what could be interpreted as suffering no longer feels like suffering, because you're accepting that life is always showing you something for you to expand and grow, release the past, and become the fullness of who you are in your truth. I like to see all these beliefs and programs as just covering up the truth of who we are. And the more we clear them, it's like removing the soil off a beautiful flower that wants to blossom and it's under a foot of soil. There's no chance of it breaking through and blossoming. And the more you dig away that soil, the more chance that seed has of coming up and being a beautiful flower in the world. So the more we clear this away, even what looks like suffering, we just accept the moment and say, okay, what is this showing me? Things are going to be even better on the other side. And it's really that simple, that once we've cleared a lot, it's just as simple as, okay, I'm going to be having dinner alone tonight. How great that I've prepared this beautiful meal for myself and enjoyed the process of shopping and preparing this. I guess I'm loving myself tonight the same way I would be loving my friend. How fantastic. So it's really the way we look at it changes once we release these emotional connections. Accepting is knowing that every moment is just what it's meant to be. And when we don't accept, it's an opportunity to look at what emotion is in there that's not able to accept what's happening in this moment, and then clear and release it. And another way of sort of seeing, that whole mirror effect of what's on the outside is showing us something on the inside. Sometimes it's hard to figure that out. It took me really 2 years of believing in this effect, trying to figure out how things were showing me what's on the inside. I now teach it in my workshops. So one example could be, if your car breaks down, literally, where am I breaking down? What is this showing me? Okay, where am I breaking down? Where am I falling apart? Maybe you've been pushing yourself too hard, not admitting to yourself that you're as stressed as you are, trying to achieve something and pushing too hard, and you're going to break down, and your car is showing you that. You may even be in the process of breaking down, but not admitting it to yourself. Or if your brakes aren't working suddenly and you realize you have to go and get the brakes fixed on your car, it's kind of the same thing. Where are you not slowing down when you need to slow down? Where are you pushing through instead of slowing down? If you have a flat tire, where are you feeling completely flat in your life, like there's you're not inflated, there's nothing filling you up? Where is that happening in your life? And truly, our cars become connected to us, and they will show us. I've even had to talk to my cars or to the universe and say, okay, I don't want my car to show me anymore. Let's pick some other way, because my car was breaking down quite often. It's like, okay, I'll take another way to find this instead of having my car breaking down all the time. Or there was someone in my family whose car would break down and it would be very expensive repair costs. And she said to me, every time I get a little bit extra money in the bank, something happens for it to go away. Well, there's a belief system around abundance there, that something always happens, that you can't have any extra money in the bank. So that's a belief system for you to look at around abundance. Sometimes it's someone judging us and we feel really judged by someone else. Where are you judging yourself? Or if you're judging someone else, catch yourself anytime you're judging anything in the world. It's always a judgment of the self. So whatever you judge in other people, there was one person in one of my workshops, we were doing this work, and she has a judgment around people who are lazy. And she couldn't figure out how that was a judgment of herself, because she didn't believe she was lazy. The truth was, she wouldn't allow herself to be lazy because she had such a judgment of being lazy that she would keep herself busy and active so that she couldn't judge herself for being lazy. What she was really judging was giving herself time and space to do nothing. It's like doing nothing in her mind was being lazy. Whereas doing nothing is balance in life. When we're busy for a while, we just need to retreat and do nothing for a while to create balance. So she wasn't allowing herself to have that balance because she had this judgment that doing nothing was being lazy. So it can be tricky sometimes to go in and see what it is, but it really is there if you're having some reaction, if you're having any kind of judgment. So, one final thing is, this also applies to good things in our lives. So if we have good things showing up for us, if suddenly someone comes along and they offer us to take us along with them on a vacation, fantastic. Look what you're showing yourself. You're showing yourself abundance. You're showing yourself that you're a good companion, and that you care about yourself and you want to be with yourself because this person wants to be with you, and that you're in abundance because this person is showing you abundance. So also acknowledge the good things that show up in your life. Perhaps you get a raise at work. Wow, you've just realize that you're more valuable. Hooray, good for you for doing that. So it works both ways, and it's important to celebrate the so-called good things so that our subconscious recognizes that we have moved into this state of being and that we believe in our value and our worth. So I will leave it there. I hope this has been really helpful. And again, thanks to Mave for bringing this question through. And I also want to let you know that come February of 2020, on Tuesdays, I'm going to be starting a new weekly webinar that I'm calling Pathways to Ascension. And it's going to be supporting people to help people work through this way of recognizing what life is showing us. So it's going to be a 2-hour webinar. It's going to cost $60 US. I'm only going to take 10 people per call per week so that people really have time to share what's happening for them in their lives. So I'm going to have everyone on the group have time to share what's going on for them, what the challenges are, what they're seeing coming up that maybe they don't, they're not able to find the source of it or to be able to clear it. And then I'm going to spend time at the end of the call using the freedom release technique, which goes in very deep to do this clearing work. And we're going to clear what's coming up for everyone on the call. And I'm going to offer this every week starting in the first Tuesday of February in 2020. So I'll also put a link below where you can register for that if you're interested. And I would also say that working in a group, there's never a coincidence. This is another thing about life. It's always a divine plan on who comes together. And we're always reflecting something that is within each other when we come together in a group, because life is always showing us what's on the inside. And the benefit of working in a group is that sometimes people are bringing something up that we haven't recognized in ourselves, but it's there because we are together. And so you can clear things that you weren't even aware of that you are holding within you when we come together as a group. So I wanted to start this to really help us open up in this pathway to ascension, because as I mentioned in my Sound of Love video too, that it's really important for us to clear the old debris so that we can move into stepping into our higher frequency and the highest potential of who we are, which we've really come to do at this time. That's why we're here. We're here to help bring all of the earth into ascension and to support all of humanity in moving up. Anyone who's listening to this, you know, we're really in the beginning of this phase of helping people move up into this higher frequency. And the more we release and clear our own stuff, the more we're clearing the way for everyone else. And I know many of us are doing this for the mass consciousness, not only for ourselves. But regardless of that, everything we do for ourselves is clearing that energy out of this planetary system. So check the link below to register for that. And thanks for being present, sending so much love. I hope this was of service to you all, and I will see you very soon.